Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the entire audience watching us from Switzerland and our friends watching us from the US.
Wait.
So my name is Niccolo Iorno, and I'm a project leader for innovation and entrepreneurship at Swissnex Boston. We're here today with Webb. She's the executive director of the New England Venture Capital Association, and she's a passionate supporter of the startup community. Her aim is to make New England the best place in the world to start and grow new companies. So she's going to talk in today's webinar about the Boston Startup Hub and what makes Boston actually a unique place when it comes to entrepreneurship. But before we jump to your presentation, we would like to introduce to those of you who are not familiar with our network, the Swissnex network, to give you a couple of words about who we are and what we do for Swiss startups. So the Swissnex network is a network of 6 structured scientific consulates spread around the globe in the most innovative hubs. So we have offices here in Boston, we have offices in San Francisco, we have offices in Asia, Singapore, Shanghai, and Bangalore, and also in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And in all those locations, we have activities related to entrepreneurship, and we have Swiss startups. So in the US, we have a close collaboration with the CTI, the Commission for Technology and Innovation of the Swiss government, and we run with the CTI the US Market Entry Camp, what we call the US Market Entry Camp. We have programs for early stage startups. It's a program of 1 month. We call it the validation camp. Companies can come to basically validate the product, the prototype, or the business model. Or we also have the US Market Entry Camp, which is for more mature companies that are really seeking to enter the US and get some traction over here. We offer these programs throughout the US, so in all the locations, in Boston, San Francisco, and also in our outpost in New York City. Or individual entrepreneurs can participate in the program and jump from one location to the other. So, we're here, as said, with Webb. She is really the right person to tell us about what's going on here in Boston when it comes to startups. Today, she is the executive director of the New England Venture Capital Association. And you began your career actually back in the days with Webb before its acquisition with Bertelsmann for 350 million. And then you took executive roles in marketing in several companies such as Whole Foods Markets, Care.com, and Preserve. So you are not you're not native from the Boston region, right, but you are really familiar with it. From what I learned, you're in your undergraduate at the Wellesley College, and you hold an MBA from the Simmons School of Management. And then you built several entrepreneurship programs, right? And you are often asked to speak about venture-related topics, innovation, entrepreneurship, and also the shifting role of women in technology and venture capital. Okay, so I'm nearly done. But before we jump to the presentation, I would like to give you a couple of logistical announcements. So the presentation will last around 30 minutes. We will have 15 minutes of question and answer. For the question, please make good use of the chat box that pops up next to your Ustream screen. Just post them, and we will collect them at the end. And yeah, don't hesitate to tweet about the webinar tonight. So, okay, see you, Webb. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Niccolo. Thank you, everyone here at Swissnex, Sophie and team, for pulling this webinar together. It is so great to connect with all of you, entrepreneurs, students, others interested in thinking about ways to engage with the Boston startup ecosystem. So as Niccolo said, my name is CA. For the last 3 years, I've run a really cool entrepreneurial organization that represents 90 venture capital firms here in town. So we work in both technology and biotech. Our investors are investing in very early stage companies, seed rounds, say a couple $100,000 to a couple million, all the way up to growth equity and helping companies scale as they get toward maturity. So our interest, though, is not just in finding great new deals, although that certainly is something we care a lot about. We're also interested in making Massachusetts the best place in the world to start and grow new companies. So the presentation today will cover kind of the ingredients in making that so, and why we think Massachusetts is the most exciting biotech and tech ecosystem in the world in which to be doing business. And I have to orient you just for a quick minute. So we're sitting here at the Swiss consulate. We are steps away from Harvard University. I mean, literally steps. We could roll out the front door and we'd be sitting in Harvard's front yard. We are about 3/4 of a mile from MIT. So we're talking about 2 of the top universities in the world that are just a few steps away from where we're sitting right now. About a mile away is Kendall Square, which is arguably the leading innovation district in the entire world. So every major pharma company, biotech company has planted an office there in the last 10 to 20 years. It's a home to emerging startups and then the giants in the industry. It's also a home to a wide diversity of tech companies. So just sitting within a mile of where the Swiss consulate does business, there is such an exciting dynamic innovation district around us. So let's jump into the slides we have for you today. Thank you. So we talked about the NEVCA. Our organization exists to advocate for the Boston and the Massachusetts ecosystem, do marketing and PR to help people like you understand what exciting entrepreneurs, new business models, cutting edge breakthroughs are happening here in this region. We build community among VCs and entrepreneurs. We make a lot of introductions. Certainly, all of you should know that we're here to help you find your way in, to meet potential business partners, to meet potential investors. So I hope you'll call on us for help with that. We promote and advocate. We engage students. One of Massachusetts' greatest assets is not just Harvard and MIT, but it's dozens and dozens of colleges and universities training the next generation of leaders. And lastly, we advocate on specific innovation-related issues. So city, state, and federal issues that we believe really hold the keys to unlocking potential for innovation, for new company formation, and for the growth and the development of exciting new breakthroughs. So specifically here in Massachusetts, we're working to defeat non-compete agreements, which impede the free flow of talent from companies. At the federal level, we partner with other organizations like Mark Zuckerberg's Ford.us, which is advocating on behalf of immigration reform, which I can imagine many of you here with us today think about. So let's just dive into the academic side of this equation. We have 75 colleges and universities within an hour's drive of where we're sitting here today. It's really an unparalleled academic market here in Massachusetts. We thrive on brain talent. I mean, it is our natural resource, our greatest natural resource here in this state. So, and it goes without saying that access to these resources are really an easy hop for all of you. In the time it takes me to get from here to the west coast of the United States, it takes you in Switzerland to get here to Boston. It's easy commuting for folks in Europe, and it's a reason why a lot of European companies and entrepreneurs, when they're thinking about getting started in the US market, they start here in Boston. So you can see massive R&D budgets. We have the most vibrant community of patents and spin-offs out of universities of really anywhere in the world. We have very friendly operations, particularly at Harvard and MIT, that are actively working with undergraduate and graduate students to help them commercialize their technologies. So that's just part and parcel of the academic world, building really strong connections with industry, and you see that implicated in the universities here. There is, I mean, I can't tell you, innovation is just the watchword right now in Massachusetts. Everyone's thinking about it, everyone's understanding that students are coming not just to learn, but students are coming to apply their learning. And so there's a very friendly culture to students who want to start new enterprises, even as students, or certainly go out and join existing startups when they graduate. So we do a lot of work to help plug students into internships, so to experiential opportunities, so they can start to understand what does it really look like to work inside a robotics company or a robotics startup. What does it mean to be a product manager? So we can certainly be a resource to you, for any of you who are students or maybe recently graduated, who are looking for opportunities for, say, you know, a 12-week or a 6-month experience as an intern inside one of our biotech or tech companies. You can see there is an amazing, I mean, I can't say this enough, just massive amount of support for entrepreneurs here in Massachusetts. We have academic initiatives that are open not only to students in those universities, but to others in the community. Specific ones I would call out and urge you to take a look at. Harvard's iLab, the Trust Center at MIT. There are phenomenally well-known and well-attended business plan competitions like MIT's 100K competition. There are venture capital funds that are specifically designed to engage students and helping them learn the trade of venture capital investing, ones like Rough Draft and the Dorm Room Fund. There are more co-working spaces than you can shake a stick at, and they're full. It's been phenomenal to see the appetite that early stage companies have for not just finding a place that puts them at the center of the business district, but that also offers a way for them to connect up with other entrepreneurs and potentially other talented people that they can hire and engage. So there are places like the CIC, which is actually now replicating around the world. There's they're opening in other markets, both in Europe and in the US. Lab Central is specifically for biotech entrepreneurs. It's right on the edge of Kendall Square near MIT. WeWork, WorkBar, Engine, Greentown Labs is specifically for clean tech entrepreneurs. HackerDuce is for entrepreneurs interested in working in big data. If you have an interest in connecting with other entrepreneurs, if you're just even coming to Boston for a brief visit, you should come spend time in one of these accelerators or co-working spaces. We also have amazing programs that really do help accelerate your business and help you make very important connections with capital, with talent, and just advisors who can help you take your business to the next level. So Techstars is probably one of the best known programs. The Boston Techstars program is known as really in the top 3 of all Techstars programs around the world. Mass Challenge is started here in Boston, but is again replicating around the world. It's an annual competition that funnels hundreds of startups through a competitive process, and then several dozen of those end up receiving funding at the end of the process. But even more critically, they end up meeting advisors, coaches, investors, and talent that help them advance their business. We have an amazing EdTech accelerator for those of you interested in that space called Learn Launch, which is just a couple of years old now. They host a conference every January that brings everyone in the EdTech space together to make meaningful connections, and I would certainly urge you to put that on your calendars if you're looking at EdTech opportunities. PayPal's Start Tank is here, Koa Labs. The list is very long. We have a number of online resources, which even before you find yourself on a plane coming to spend time with us here in Massachusetts, I'd urge you to spend time getting to know these resources, and it will give you a great flavor and help you prioritize what you want to do when you're here. So Bostino is a media site that does a very good job covering cutting edge news in the tech space. There's Beta Boston, which is a subsidiary of the Boston Globe, which is the big newspaper in town, media company in town. There is a great resource called Greenhorn Connect, which is specifically designed for students and early stage entrepreneurs who are making their way into the startup ecosystem here. Mass Technology Leadership Council, which is a great industry group that represents everything from the very big pillar tech companies like EMC to the upstart companies like the ones I work closely with. I would especially call out Venture Fizz. Great place both to find jobs and to get sort of a deep dive into specific companies and what they're working on. Xconomy, and the list goes on and on and on. There is a tremendous resource called the Hitchhiker's Guide to Boston, which also streamlines a bunch of this information I'm sharing today, and I'd encourage you to take a look at that. And then there are podcasts. My favorite, I was just interviewed a few weeks ago for one called Tech in Boston, and this is run by a great local entrepreneur named Dave, who works at a company called Privy. But by nights and weekends, he makes his way around to some of Boston's fastest growing tech companies and does one-on-one interviews. And again, just listening to a couple of those with some local VCs or entrepreneurs begins to give you the flavor for what the personality is here and opportunities to engage. So let's talk about capital. Boston has, and I say Boston as a proxy for Massachusetts and New England, but Boston is the second largest venture capital community anywhere in the world. It's clear that being an entrepreneur in the US has a huge leg up on being an entrepreneur almost anywhere else in the world, simply because we have such a well-developed system for distributing capital for entrepreneurs. It's not to say that it's easy to raise money. It takes actually quite a lot of work to make the right connections, to shape your story, and to prove that you have an idea and a team that can execute on what you say you can. But as you can see from this chart, we have a very, very active and vibrant investment community here. Currently, we represent about $50 billion in capital that's being invested in early stage and scaling companies in both tech and healthcare. It's also worth saying that we have an active angel community, and that's significant in that it's typically wealthy individuals who have, particularly those who have been entrepreneurs themselves, or who may invest both as investment professionals, but on the side invest in other areas that their funds don't tackle. So for example, I know a very successful tech entrepreneur in town whose fund only does tech investments, but because we're sitting in the #1 biotech market in the world, and because he's an incredibly well-networked person, personally he invests, he does seed investments, angel investments in life science companies. So there is a very active angel community here. These are the folks that take the really big bets when it's just an entrepreneur with an idea or 2 or 3 people that are beginning to put together plans that aren't quite ready for institutional money. And this is part of the whole reason why we have such an active entrepreneurial community, because we have this very early stage, very high risk capital willing to invest in folks. So let's talk about the reason why this ecosystem is so robust. It's not just because we have the early stage activity, but it's because we have the whole spectrum of activity. So we are home to 9 of the top 10 major drug companies in the United States. We are definitively now the #1 market for biotech. We win award after award for the density of fastest growing companies headquartered here in Massachusetts. We have basically one of the lowest unemployment rates anywhere in the United States. If you're a developer and you're looking for a job, you'll spend about 5 minutes in Boston before you land one. Developers are in hot demand. Certainly people with great UX capability, great product management skills, sales skills, marketing skills. If this is where your talent is, even if you're not ready to start a company today, we can put you to work. So please get to know the companies that are based here. Many of the big West Coast companies, as they've maxed out on their ability to hire great talent where they are, they have opened outposts here. So sitting just, again, about a mile away from where we are today is Apple's headquarters, Amazon's, Google, Facebook and Twitter, Microsoft. They all have massive offices based here in Boston. And then we have some really cool companies that just 5, 6, 7 years ago were babies. I mean, they were, you know, a couple of founders with an idea, and now they have IPO'd, and they are formidable companies employing hundreds and hundreds of people. So take a look at Wayfair, massive e-commerce company, HubSpot, inbound marketing company, Care.com, doing amazing things to help families find care they need for their children, parents, and so on. So, and then also look at the interesting acquisition market we have here. So EchoNest is a music curation company that Spotify acquired last year. GrabCAD is a community of designers. Smarter is essentially an ed tech company, just acquired last week. $5 million in, they sold for $75 million to a best-in-class company in their space. So very healthy and active acquisition market here as well. This is just a quick look at the IPO market. Massachusetts has really done an amazing job on biotech IPOs in particular, although the tech IPO market is heating up quite a lot. But you can see Massachusetts is a fraction the size of California, and our IPO market certainly rivals theirs. We have more venture capital per capita here in Massachusetts, so per person, than anywhere else in the world. So what makes Boston unique? We've talked about it a little bit, but I think the most special thing about Boston that simply can't be replicated in other markets is the size and density. So Boston it's in many ways a European city. It was designed to be walked. It was designed to be, it's not a city where the car is king. So part of what makes this place special is the serendipity found on sidewalks, in coffee shops, in walking across the bridge from Beacon Hill into Kendall Square, from getting on the Red Line, the subway, to go from the Innovation District in Boston back to Harvard and Cambridge. So this is something that no other city can replicate, but Boston has in spades. We have really cool mixed-use housing, office, retail, and it's really all of this density that presents so much opportunity for people to connect, which you know well, that results in companies getting funded, deals getting done, people getting hired, and that just happens here every day in a very vibrant way here in Boston. And I should mention, I'm being a little tech-centric, the Longwood Medical Area, which is home to many of the top-ranked hospitals in the world, is also just about 2 miles from where we're sitting here right now. So the Massachusetts Life Science Supercluster, just phenomenal growth over the last decade. The state of Massachusetts, just in the last 8 years, has invested $1 billion in state funds in providing infrastructure to strengthen this, and you know, amazing capital has followed that. So we have just some of the I mean, you've seen the list, the leading companies, some of the biggest NIH funding funds directly into the institutions here in Massachusetts. Here's just a quick list of some of the top biopharma IPOs here in Massachusetts. Genesea, really cool company to look at. Concert Pharmaceuticals. If you're in the space, you probably know many of these names. They're doing really groundbreaking work, and we're very excited to see them on the IPO market, flush with cash and able to keep growing their businesses here in Massachusetts. We interestingly, another thing for you thinking about potentially planting a company here and understanding what the talent pool looks like, Massachusetts adults have more advanced degrees than any other state in the United States. We're the most highly educated state, and you know, we compete certainly on a global level there as well. More than a third, I guess it's now about 40% of the overall workforce here in Massachusetts is employed in an innovation sector job. So Let me pause there, and I think we have a bunch of questions, and I mostly want to make sure that you learn what you need to learn so you can keep advancing your goals in your company and your degree.
Yeah, right. Indeed, we have a couple of questions that came in throughout your talk. It was really, really interesting. Thank you so much for this insightful first-hand experience about Boston as a global startup hub. So the first question that came in today is about the added value of Boston if you compare it to other startup hubs here in the United States, in particularly the Silicon Valley and New York City that is taking more and more momentum, right?
Right. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with the research out of Harvard Business School and Michael Porter on the meaning and value of clusters. Deciding where you belong in terms of your personal interest and talents and where your startup belongs really matters very much on finding a cluster of talented people who are working on like issues. So people who you would want to partner with, people who you would want to invest in you, and people who you would want to hire. I can tell you Boston's selling point is that it's a very broad and deep tech ecosystem, and biotech ecosystem for that matter. But on the tech side, we're not just a consumer internet town. I mean, Silicon Valley definitely is the lead on consumer technology at this point. Boston has a very healthy consumer tech segment. Kayak.com, TripAdvisor, Wayfair, Runkeeper. I mean, there are a number of really interesting consumer technology companies based here in Massachusetts. Probably many you've used and you didn't realize that their home is here in Massachusetts. But we also have very deep roots in storage, in e-commerce, in robotics, in mobile, hardware, infrastructure, enterprise is absolutely Massachusetts is the hub for enterprise hardware and software. So there's really a diversity to what technology means here in Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another couple of questions. So we are in the sports business with a premium tech innovation. Are there clusters that could help us in that specific sector?
That's so interesting. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what your business model is, but I can tell you there's some really interesting gaming companies. There's also, and there's some definitely companies that are in the sports space. I mean, you probably know that Massachusetts is a big sports town, and we're a winning sports town. So we're home to the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox, some of the best teams in their businesses. And we have a number of entrepreneurs that definitely run with that sports passion and have built businesses around it. So you might take a look at DraftKings. There's some other companies if you want to shoot me an email, I could definitely make some connections to some earlier companies that are emerging in that space.
Cool, thank you so much. Back to the sport company.
You're
a scuba diving company.
Oh, that's cool. I don't know anyone in the scuba space. I think you could win on that for sure. Very interesting.
Okay, great. So do I need to be a U.S. citizen to enter your internship program with startups?
Good question. Not necessarily. There are some matching funds available for Massachusetts citizens who are interested in interning in early stage companies. So you would not be eligible for some of this.
We still have a couple of questions that came in, and yeah. So Swiss entrepreneur, Swiss startup is asking how easy is, if you're a Swiss startup, to fundraise here in the greater Boston area.
So as you can imagine, there are entrepreneurs from around the world who are very interested in breaking into this funding community. And when you're an early stage entrepreneur, your investors typically want to be able to be very close to you. They want to be hands-on. They want to be able to follow you as your business evolves, help you make critical decisions along the way, connect you with meaningful resources to help you advance your business. It's very hard to do that when you're separated by several time zones. So I found that in our starting community, if you are early stage, you really have to have a willingness to relocate your business to this market in order to find investors who will invest in you. It's not to say there aren't exceptions. There are a number of venture capital firms here that specifically have relationships in markets like Israel, a little bit in London, but for the most part, they really want to invest locally in entrepreneurs that they can sit across the table from and really help.
Okay, then again about New York, maybe it overlaps a little bit, but so New York is growing in its importance when it comes to startups.
Yep.
And do we need to take it as a threat being in Boston, or is it more an opportunity to build synergies?
I mean, so many of us here in Boston spend a lot of time on the Acela train going back and forth from Boston to New York. There really is a corridor running all the way from Boston down to New York. It's a 3-hour train ride, 40-minute shuttle flight from Boston to New York, and then it's another similarly very short train ride or flight down to Washington, D.C. So we think of it as a business corridor. Certainly anyone working in financial services here in Boston is back and forth on planes regularly to New York, and it's not dissimilar in the early stage community. So New York still doesn't have the investor community, the early stage investor community that Boston does, but a number of Boston firms have opened outposts in New York or planted at least one full-time associate or even partner that's there scouting deals. The New York startup ecosystem is immature relative to Boston's, but it's very interesting. I mean, there are particularly a lot of media tech companies and fintech companies that are finding a really great home there because of the bigger companies and the talent that they can hire out of those big companies that are relevant to their business models. So I think it's a very interesting market to look at, and we consider it a boon to Boston that we can continue to collaborate and do business back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, Raina, I have one question to ask you. I think we should take the opportunity of your presence here, since you really advocate for women entrepreneurship. So, what are the current and future initiatives in that
Great.
scope?
Yeah. So here in the U.S. press, there has been a lot of conversation in 2014 about women in technology, and Silicon Valley tends to get slammed on this, but it's an issue for any ecosystem where there's a density of technology companies. You tend to see women in the more junior ranks, but as you go up the org chart, you see fewer and fewer women in the middle and at the top. And there's been, there are people who suggest that that's because women aren't doing the STEM degrees as undergraduate and graduate students that qualify them for those more technologically high-skilled jobs. That may or may not be the case, but what we know is when you look across other industries like financial services or the law or others, there are incredibly sophisticated women with PhDs, master degrees, and MBAs that are leading. And so tech has been a bit of a laggard in this space. Biotech is a little bit improved because women have done so well in pursuing advanced degrees in biological sciences and other life sciences. So we here in Massachusetts believe that we aspire to be the best place in the world for women entrepreneurs and women in technology. We have a very open arm culture here, a very collaborative culture, and there's still things we need to do to make that vision real. But I can tell you that I've been so delighted by the level of conversation among venture capitalists in town and tech leaders in town who are really beginning to put diversity within their companies at the top of their agendas as companies, understanding that leaving out 51% of the talent market is not good business. So if these companies are going to thrive and win, they're going to have to recruit great women, retain those women, and promote those women. So there's some initiatives like one I'm kicking off with a couple of venture capital firms in town, where we are pulling together some of the women who are building great domain and functional expertise inside fast-growing startup companies. So these are women who are not yet on the executive teams, but they're, you know, relatively senior. They have a lot of responsibility, and they've helped grow a company from 15 people to 500 people. And we're pulling them together into networking groups to help them get better networked in with investors and with other tech leaders, so that they understand that we really see them as the next generation of founders and company leaders here in Massachusetts.
Okay. Thank you very much, CA. It was great having you here today.
Thank you.
And I think the entire audience had quite a blast in getting to know all these initiatives and getting to know better the Boston Startup Hub. And we really hope that you will be able to come and visit Boston and get a feeling by yourself.
And I'll be in Switzerland next month. I'm going to Zermatt, so if you really want to talk startups, come meet me in Zermatt.
Yeah, ski and Schlummelflug is the drink they have up in the Alps. So a couple of acknowledgements. I would like to acknowledge also our team here, Sophie Cerny, who is working in entrepreneurship, Liz, who is actually our event manager here at Swissnex Boston, and then also the Commission for Technology and Innovation of the Swiss government, who sponsored the entire webinar. Another announcement, don't miss our next webinar. Our colleagues from New York are going to talk about the media vector, how to leverage New York City's dense media scene to your startup advantage. More will come. It should be at the end of January. Again, don't miss the opportunity to use this amazing tool that is offered by the Commission for Technology and Innovation of the Swiss government and run by the Swissnex outpost in the United States. We have the market validation camp and the market entry camp. Depending on your stage, you can either use one or the other program. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next webinar. We wish you all the best, happy holidays, and Happy New Year.